Welcome to another edition of the Motley Croc Show. It is February 8th, 2024, and it just keeps on coming. It's pretty crazy to me how time flies when you're having fun. It seems like I just saw you yesterday. But anyways, I'll go ahead and bring in my crew. I'm going to check out backstage. There is the Manic Satanic, and I have B. Right. What's up, B? How you guys doing?
What's up?
Good.
Rick?
How are you?
Good.
Me? I'm doing good. I guess we're busy. I'm just glad the weather's warming up a little bit for us, and I had to postpone to 8:30. Had to go down and help Flavio a little bit today. So, with that being said, we want to definitely help our friends when they need it. So I appreciate everybody's patience tonight with the 8:30 thing. I guess that might have helped for you guys too. Meaning you have some kids and stuff to take care of, Brittany, and Jeff's got a bunch of snakes.
Yeah, getting stuff done.
Yeah, Finn was not having it tonight. He was adamant that it was only going to be me and not John. And as soon as I went in, he passed out.
Well, I like how you look like Captain Jack Sparrow, Brittany. That's very impressive. And those
Thank you.
Those things are pretty cool right there. Those earbuds you have on.
I like
or
my
I should say
headphones.
earphones. Earbuds are those little
Yeah.
things. I don't want to be corrected.
This is called
couple things.
My Hair Isn't Done, so I'm putting on my beanie.
Hey, it's okay. That's why I don't even care anymore. It's why we're hats. But listen, there was a couple things today. I saw you sent us in the news. We'll talk a little bit about the rampant kangaroo, whatever. So hyped up. I definitely want to touch on that subject. And there's just all kinds of crazy. It's the media flare these days is out of control. I think that this is the most. Next time when you're going to cough, mute it.
I did mute it.
Well, we heard it though.
I muted it on my end.
I'm joking.
Oh, okay. I was like, it was muted. I'm so sorry.
We definitely want to talk a little bit about that, and we got some stuff coming up in the future. I'd like to touch base on, Brittany, and you're more than welcome to elaborate on whatever you're allowed to. And I also would like to let you know that we'll be doing a live show probably, I want to say February 28th or 29th. I will have the conservative aunt and his person here with us. They're going to come up, stay with me for 3 days. So him and I are going to do a little bit of show stuff here. So we'll set it up. We have kind of a little live show, and we'll have a fun kind of kick-ass thing. Now, Brittany, your connections are great. I'd like to try to do a live investigation somewhere near Tampa or close by in one of those 3 days. What's up, Michelle? Yeah, I do too. In the 3 days, because I'd like to get them guys out there. Aunt really wants to get out and check out some spiritual stuff, if you will. Those of you watching that are kind of watching me and sending me messages, don't dabble with the paranormal, leave that evil stuff alone. That's kind of all we really do, and I'm never going to leave that alone because it doesn't leave me alone. And I'd like to get into some discussions tonight on animals. Again, some animal behavior, misreading an animal and misunderstanding things, and causing bad behaviors for animal keepers or staff. I think there's a lot of things that need to be said about that I'd like to touch on. And if there's anything else that you guys want to bring into it too, I think that'd be great. So I'd like to start with Jeff and see how your week's going. Jeff, anything exciting you want to tell us? Anything that you think people would love to hear?
It's good. I started my new position this week, my float position. So
congratulations.
And I'm going to be working at a couple different hospitals for my system. So that's kind of cool. I'm staying where I am until the end of March, but then I start my float duties. And
very cool.
It's pretty much it. I got all the snakes out of brumation. Everybody's is ready to go. I just got to do some feeding tomorrow, and then I'm going to put them all together and make some babies.
That's exciting.
Things are good, man. I can't really complain.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
How about you, Brittany? How'd your day go?
It was good. I mean, it was, normal day in the sense of just being chaotic and like trying to get everything balanced like it does. Bimini apparently wanted to try being a podcaster, which I sent you the video.
I thought that was funny.
She put my earbuds on and started talking in the mic like she knew what was up. But yeah, no, overall it was good. Just trudging away as it is. I'm trying to kind of redo the office a little bit. Because I bought a bunch more paranormal stuff to put up.
Nice.
I know, stay away from paranormal, which is so ridiculous.
I think that's great. Dan's alive. That's great.
What's up,
where are you going to be floating to? All over Florida, Jeff?
No,
give out all your secret locations.
Mostly in the area.
What's up, Jim? He's always coming in.
Clearwater. What's up, man?
I love it, dude.
Back at you, brother.
Thank you, Jim, for keeping us laughing.
I'm going to be all over this area, like 8 different hospitals,
Nice.
all
That's
Baycare
cool.
facilities, everywhere from St. Pete to all the way up to like Lutz and Wesley Chapel.
Killer.
Lots of
I would
terrible.
think that has to be kind of fun to mix it up a little bit. Like,
Yeah,
it kind of gives you like, oh, I can kind of go here and like, I don't know. I think that would kind of be fun, like a change of pace from the constant same hospital scene.
exactly. And you know, I'm kind of more on my own. I don't have management most of the places I'm going to be. So it's just me and whatever other therapists are there. So we handle the management duties while we're there. You know, plus it's a huge raise. And
Yeah, that's great.
are we all frozen on your guys' screen or just mine?
Jeff,
No,
you're
just
frozen.
just you, Jeff.
They're picking on you this month because last week it was
Oh,
me.
wow.
Jeff is frozen. He's frozen, and look at him.
Mhm.
He's immortal.
Huh.
Oh,
He's
there he
back.
is.
There he is.
Yeah, my screen turned all white, and then it's the government. They're watching.
I did
So
want to
let me-
show off. I found my Meg tooth today. I was very
Nice.
excited that I found it.
Wow, dude. I bet my neighbors love looking for that stuff. They go out all the time. I say my neighbors, people know who they are, but they're friends of mine, but they really enjoy going out there and looking for
That's
shark
huge.
teeth and stuff. And so do I. There's a lot of stuff out of the Peace River.
So
I really
cool.
like to get out there and do it when the weather gets warmer. But let me start off on some shit about and let me limit a little bit of my swearing because I know that YouTube gets a little sensitive about things. You know, you can watch videos on waxing vaginas, but you can't say shit. I don't know, whatever. But anyways, I saw you sent me, Jeff, that kangaroo runs rampant through Tampa. What was that little thing? What did it say?
Oh, it said, let's see. It's the one I sent you
The
there.
clickbait headline. I love the headlines.
A lot of people sent me that
So dramatic.
that article, so different articles of it. But yeah, it all makes it seem like
Ridiculous.
it was crazy. It was up to, like,
Stupidity.
Town and Country, right? That's
Stupid. Let me touch on something here. It's because there's a kangaroo in my apartment. Kangaroo runs rampant in Tampa before deputies can capture it. First of all, that is the most stupidest way to title that. Fox 13. Fox 13. Why propagate some stupid shit like that? That's not what happened. The animal got out of its familiar environment, which can happen. Dogs do it. Birds do it.
people do it.
Yeah, we all get out of our environment. We get a little upset. And so all he did was he was looking for a little bit of grass. He was a very gentle animal. He happened to hop somewhere. He hippity hopped over. And so the bottom line is FWC had already been on the phone with me in the morning about it. Hey, if we need a place to secure this animal until we locate its owners, because they want to find its owner and get it back to its owner. It wasn't a big thing. Police were called, obviously, before, because I think people commonly call the police before they will call the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission.
That's who I heard
They
about.
don't think about it. Okay. Can kangaroos be dangerous? Yes. Kangaroos can be dangerous. Was this one? No. Are kangaroos as dangerous as horses? No.
No.
Are kangaroos as dangerous as alligators? No. So let's take a half marsupial, half deer hopping around a little scared and try to scare everybody with it. And all that does is give those assholes PETA.
Yep.
Look what they're doing. Can't even do this. Can't do that. Can't control this. It's in my apartment. The animal wandered into the pool environment of the apartment complex and calmed down. When the FWC officers got there, they were able to pet the animal, calmly walk the animal into its trailer, and they were able to find the owner and get everything taken care of. Very simple. Now, that's all it was. And I was here if they needed something, or one of us in the industry, to be able to hold the kangaroo until they were able to locate the owner, which the owner would have been like me or Jeff or any one of us. Excuse me, my animal's out. I really need help finding it. Right? They did the right thing and everybody got it under. So blowing something like that out of proportion with the news, Fox 13, that's just for views and making it like a sensationalizing it. It's let's just get everybody scared. And it all falls in play when someone goes, well, these people have these damned exotics and they're coming in here and blah, blah, blah. First of all, you're not going to die from a young little kangaroo. By the way, was neutered. You're not going to die from it. It's a gentle animal. It's no big deal. But people have horses. You know how many people get their heads kicked off or their organs blown out of their asshole by being kicked by a huge horse because they have a horse? They don't know what they're doing. 9
Mhm.
times out of 10, that's what that is. So I
You
get
don't
really
know
upset
what they're doing.
as someone in the animal industry when somebody blows something up and lies about it like that. Just like tonight, there's an interview. I'm not very into politics, but there's an interview with Putin. But isn't it funny that our president now wants to get out of bed and have a chit chat when that hits when it hits it? Wasn't even up a couple hours, had 14 million views, and he had to wake up to address the nation. You think he would have addressed shit if they weren't doing that? No. So I think it's interesting that Tucker Carlson went and interviewed Putin. That's an interesting thing. I can't speak on it because I haven't watched it yet. I'd like to see what was said. I'm pretty interested to hear it. It just shows you there's more fluff and more scare and more propaganda, and it all starts right here at home with a kangaroo, going around with a grenade, blowing up apartments, and sneaking up on people. It's so dumb to me. It's ridiculous. And you know that there's going to be someone terrified now to go outside. Now they're going to wear 5 masks to go outside so that they can walk and make sure they're not attacked by a kangaroo. So now everybody's going to go down and buy canes so they can hit kangaroos that are going to attack them, or boxing gloves, because that's how stupid the human race is a lot of times with this shit. So, please.
And the problem with this is that it's fear propaganda through the news, through all media outlets now. And what's going to happen is these people that don't understand animals, that don't have any understanding of animals or even these types of animals, when there is a next hearing about having said animals or exotic animals, these people are going to come and they're going to be like, I remember when we feared for our lives when there was this kangaroo who came into the neighborhood and were like kicking down doors and beating up children. You know what I'm saying? So then it's going to become a big thing. And then the academia people who have never owned a pet besides a dog are all of a sudden going to be like, oh, they're right. This is a dangerous situation and we need to put a handle on this so that now these actual, like, really well-educated people that are trained to have these said animals are now not going to be able to have them because of a couple of people through a fear propaganda done through media. And then it just stirs this stigma up in people that are very uneducated on the animal topic. And they just automatically are like, oh my God, we have to make this stop, because who else in an apartment in building B may have a kangaroo? Like, it's not realistic. And it's just fear. It's fear propaganda.
Yeah.
It's what drives
people use to stop people from owning anything. But let me tell you something. PETA, folks, kills more animals. And I'm still investigating that bear country thing where PETA infiltrated. Anytime PETA infiltrates something, it's usually a lie. I'm sorry. They make things up, or they ad-lib things, or they'll take roadkill off of a road and throw it in an enclosure. Or if there's going to be a law about big snakes, they'll go release like 4 well-fed, massive green anacondas in a neighborhood that there shouldn't be. And they're going, look at this. Look at this. They've let anacondas run rampant in Florida. And that's what they do, folks. So I don't want to get too far off on PETA because I can't stand that organization. And I think what they do is crap. And I don't think half of them know what's up. And it's usually keyboard tough guy kids. And I'm sure I'm going to get some hate in my messages. Fuck you. You're a fucking fuck. I'm going to get all of it. I already know. And I don't care.
You ain't doing it right.
People, stop donating to those places. You're not helping.
No.
Okay?
Yeah.
You notice that celebrities spend more time having sex with children on other islands than they do wearing plastic bags, talking about PETA and how they want to throw blood on fur. You don't see that anymore, do you? No, you don't see a lot of that now. Now they're defending themselves. But it's, hey, we shouldn't kill and skin animals, but it's okay to take kids out and do whatever we want. Huh? What kind of world are we in, folks? So anyways, thank you, Jim. Let me put that up there. I'd like to get that up there. Let me just put that up there for everybody because I feel the same way.
Yep.
I think that kind of stuff, and the ASPCA is another one that they funnel through, and you see this little dog, and it's like, and on the arms of an angel, and they're like, 10,000 dogs die at the hands of terrible owners. Yeah.
How many dogs die at the hands of the ASPCA?
Yeah, tons of them.
Right? A lot.
Tons of them.
If you're going to donate to an animal cause, keep it local, keep it no kill. Check the laws, make sure that your money's going to a good place.
Those two organizations wouldn't think twice about killing an animal.
Right.
Let's just be honest, people. Let's just be honest. They do not care.
Yep. Thank you, Jim. I'll put that up. That's very, very relevant there.
An acronym. Those are the ones to stay away from. Thank you, Judy.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
not doing any good.
And I want to be clear because I know someone's going to get on here and be like, "Oh my God, you're so aggressive. You're so aggressive." It's not that. I am an American. And I believe you have the right to do what you want to do as an American citizen, right? How come it's so hard to own a pet kangaroo, but you can make as many kids as you want and abuse them, not feed them, leave them in the house and they burn it down and all this kind of stuff?
Right.
So my
Re-age
point
them
is,
to 22
if you do
Follow the money.
right, if you do the time, and you've put it into your life and you do animals and that's your thing and you love being around them and working with them, and you should be allowed to do it. If one person does something wrong, it's that one person. It's not me. It's not Jeff. It's not any of us that are in the animal industry or even zoos. And we even are starting to build that ideology in a lot of zoos. And I think that's another thing I'd like to touch on. Bad habits. Bad habits and misrepresentation of animals is a really big problem for me. And we're going to specialize. We specialize in animal behavior. I mean, we do. I mean, we're gonna sit here and bullshit. It's what I do. I know a lot of people are probably, there's a lot of haters that hate me and say all the shit they want to say because they want to do whatever. And I don't really, it doesn't really matter. I do what I do, and that's what I am. And so when I think about stuff, for example, you take and use animate objects like garbage can lids. I love it, Jim. In garbage can lids or rakes, and you use it as a divider between you and an animal and exhibit instead of trying to build relationships or understanding the behavior, that creates a bad habit. Now that person gets fired, and the people before see that. And so what do? So now all it is now you've created a demon between the garbage can lid or the rake and that animal, when it's really, you just don't know what you're doing. And the problem is we have a lot of pet smart people that try to work for zoological industries, zoo parks, AZA, whatever you want, and they know everything because they've Googled it.
I hate that.
And I want to tell you, most of the people that Google about snakes or ball python snakes or anything they Google about, what they've read that another Googler wrote. Most of them don't even have it. Or it's one person that's really young and has one snake. Now, let me tell you something about having one snake. All you're going to learn about that one snake is that one personality of that one snake.
Yep.
Right? So you could get a shitty snake. Now they go out there, well, we have to write. Blood pythons are one of the worst snakes to have, not for the beginner. Not true. Not true.
Yep.
So the next person reads that, it gets shared. The next person reads that, it gets shared. The next person reads that, it gets shared, right?
Yep.
Now you have a whole line of idiots teaching idiots to be idiots. That's how I look at it. And if you really want to have fun, when you go in the pet stores like that, and you got to, because it's an emergency, because I buy from wholesalers when it comes to feeding my animals, rats, crickets, hornworms, anything I need. But when you go there and you got to get something because, you can't get the shipment or whatever, or something's in between, and they go, so what are you feeding? Use some ridiculous scientific name of your animal.
Yeah.
And go, you don't know what that is? You're supposed to be teaching me. And make it simple. Use the scientific name of a ball python or a bearded dragon. They'll look at you like, what's this fucking... This guy's over talking about serendipitous. What is that? You're like, look, if you don't know what it is, just walk over and go, it's this. So I don't mind helping people out and teaching people that want to learn, but we have this thing where people misread behavior on crocodiles, on any type of animals, and I love to sit down and talk with Flavio about it because we understand you can see things if you spend enough time learning and listening to the animal. And it's anything it'll do. The way it looks at you, the way it moves its eyes. Let me give you an example of how crocodiles work. Flavio would take three of us and we would all get together and we'd go into this big crocodile enclosure and we would work this crocodile. And what I mean by work it, we're not beating it with whips, making it run until it's farting and shitting itself. We're not doing that. Working it means giving it a little bit of fun, little toilet, let it play a little bit. Crocodiles are very, very, very playful creatures. I don't care what anybody tells you. Crocodiles are playful creatures. And they know play, reward. They understand it. So if we took a new person in, I mainly worked with this crocodile, so he knows me and he pays attention to everything I do. So Flavio would say, okay, Troy, I want you to turn your back on the crocodile, and I would like this person to start working the animal. Now I have to turn my back, and that tells the crocodile he's not working me anymore. I need to lose focus. But all I have to do is go like this. And he'll take his attention off the other person right back to me, right? So they study every little thing you do. And I said to someone, listen, even when you get scared and you clench up your little butt cheeks and you're a guy and you go, oh, God, I'm scared. It pushes your little penis forward in your pants. You don't think crocodiles see that? Now they know you've tensed up. They can read what you're doing, and now they know you're scared. They got it before you do. So when someone will tell me about a crocodile's behavior and like, oh, you'll get killed if you do that, and they did this, and they blink their eyes or they flap their ears, a lot of times ear flap is play. They like to play. I used to take this big blue heavy duty ball that you would let horses use to kick around, and you'd pick that thing up, and that croc's ears will start flapping. He's like, he's going to throw that thing. I can't wait. It's so exciting. And here you go. You throw it in there. He bites down on it and he slings it up. You give him a treat or a watermelon or something fun. And you start to learn these animals because everybody has the idea that kangaroos are murderers.
Yeah. Well, thank you, media.
Everybody has the idea that crocodiles are murderers. It's just not true. It's not true. And people possess way more deadly animals that are just considered livestock than a simple kangaroo or even a crocodile. Your chances of getting killed by a horse is greater than dying by a crocodile. Do you all know that?
And a cow.
About longhorn
saying,
cattle, yeah.
You have a better chance of getting involved. Well, yeah, if you eat enough poison cows, you'll have cancer. They'll kill you one way or the other.
No. I mean, like just being in a pasture with a cow. Like sometimes they don't realize their own strength when they're playing with you. I mean, they can hurt you pretty hard.
Or they just don't want you in there.
Or they don't want you in there and you're dead.
Because somebody hurt them. So,
there's
a lot of...
like every animal.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I don't want to say too much about the reincarnation of the crocodile hunter. He really didn't do a whole lot with behavior and understanding their intelligence level. He did mention that they were smart. He did. He talked about some stuff with them and stuff. But these guys that are doing it now that are really into the behavior of it and understanding the brain, the way it works and stuff, their peripheral vision. So Kent Vliet, really cool guy. He contacted Kurt and he brought some people up from the University of Florida, I think, or FSU, one of the two. And they were borrowing my crocodiles and they were doing these laser things on them so they could see their peripheral vision. How far behind them can they see? How far out? Awesome. How far in the front? So I'm really curious. I can't wait to talk to Kurt about that and hear all the data and learn about, that, because that's a really big thing in our industry to understand that. I mean, we just don't know that stuff yet. People just weren't really doing that. So, growing up as a kid, what do you hear? Oh, that's an alligator. He's stupid. He just eats all day and he'll kill you. Mm-hmm. It's not true. It's not true. So again, that's propagated lies and bad habits, bad habits, and bad habits create bad habits, create bad habits. And that's because nobody wants to listen. When we were young, we listened. If we didn't listen, we got hurt. And so nowadays, everybody's so sensitive. Well, you can't say that to them because their feelings might be hurt that you said that this person can do it better than them, but they can't. Right.
Well, when he's talking about like bad behaviors, and it's the same thing like you had taught me in the sense of behavioral with alligators, it's not the alligator's fault that the human is feeding it off of a dock or off of a place. You're training it to know that, oh, this person feeds me, this person won't harm me, they bring me food and all is well. So then when somebody else and their kid is there, they don't know any different. And so that's the same type of behavioral you've explained many times, and that's a bad behavioral trait. That's not the animal's fault. That's the person's behavioral fault of teaching an animal to do something that it shouldn't be doing. It's the same with bears. Like we know that with bears. It's like, yeah, you want to help the bears and you want to do these things. But the problem is when you do this, now that bear is grateful to you and that's great. And that bear comes to you. But if you live in a community or in a neighborhood, you have now made that animal have a target on its back to die. And I understand that you were doing the right thing because you were saving the bear from whatever issue it had, or you did something good because it was a cub and now it's coming and visiting you. It's wonderful. But now you're teaching this poor animal a bad behavior that's only going to kill this animal. And you just have a really cool story to tell people. But now you've put that animal's life in danger, and that's not fair to the animal. So we have a good intention, but it's not always the best for the animal, which is where the behavior problem comes in. Yeah, so I can agree.
Animals, it's good for animals to have a healthy fear of people, right? So that they know to stay away, rather than bringing them in and making them comfortable coming into neighborhoods, especially things like bears or alligators or God forbid a kangaroo wanders into the neighborhood. We all know, how dangerous they are. It's I've seen Rocko's Modern Life. Remember that cartoon?
Yep.
I'm pretty sure he was a wallaby, but close enough.
Yep. Now listen, you're right, Jeff. I mean, and in Australia, I mean, the great red kangaroo can, they can be very dangerous, right? They can be, but they're also wild kangaroos.
Right.
You're not
And
raising
that's
that animal.
different.
You know, you didn't spend time with the animal. He doesn't understand people as part of the pod. My animal, my kangaroo, he likes to spar. We go out there and we play loud a little bit, and I go, "Oh, you won, you won." I give him some treats. It's over. You sit there, you scratch his head. But you know, in their pods, they do that to each other. They run around and they scratch each other and they push on each other and they spar. They do that so that when they grow up to be big, strong men, they can go off and run their pods off and other things. So they do that kind of stuff. But here, when we do stuff like that, I'm not a kangaroo breeder. So yes, I had my kangaroo fixed so that he doesn't have to go through all the stress of wanting to breed all the time and stress. All he wants to do is lay around, scratch his stomach from time to time, hang out with
Like
us.
me.
He looks stoned every day. Let me tell you what that little bastard did the other day. Let me just tell you.
He's so cute, though.
I go out, it's
Oh,
freezing
God.
out, right? So I put out a cane pig blanket. They call pig blankets, folks. For those who don't know what it is, it's a fiberglass plate. It's got a thermostat. It's big. So I have a 4x6. I think I got it from Justin years ago. 4 feet wide, 6 feet long, maybe 7 feet. It's huge, right? I lay it flat. I put a little heater up. I do a little lean-to for them so there's airflow because they get overheated. So I'm like, you know, the fuck is he doing? I look on the camera and I see him laying there and it's dark. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I walk outside and I got to paint this story because I want you to understand how this goes, how this went down. Now, he's laying there and I'm looking around. I'm coming out the back. I'm going all the way out to his exhibit and I'm like, the fuck is he at?
Mm.
I get up there and I look down and he's scratching his stomach. And there are 3 fucking raccoons laying with him on the mat. Like they're all the best of friends.
That's awesome.
Oh my God.
Hilarious, dude.
And when they realized I walked up, dude, they shot out of there like a bat out of hell. And he shot up, bumped his head. He didn't even know what the hell was going on. He's like, oh my God, what did I do?
That's awesome.
Now,
He was having a party.
my kangaroo developed some issues with his eyes where he has issues with cataracts. So he can't really see all that well. Okay. So he just thought there were some buddies with him. And they just wanted to lay with him and keep warm. They weren't trying to hurt him or anything. Of course, he's twice their size. But they all took off, and he's out there being friends. I'm trying to chase those things off, and he's welcoming them in. Come on in and lay down on the mat with me, guys. It's great. We'll all scratch each other's back. I'll get some of your fleas, whatever you want to do.
Give my dad some babies,
God.
all the good stuff.
That's another reason that my Cappy has a shot, a rabies shot, and he's brought in at night because he's very capybaras are very interesting animals, and they can be defensive.
Mhm.
Like, he does not like my one dog Bubbles. Does not like her. Probably because she looks like a gray, mentally challenged capybara.
Yes,
Right?
She does.
So he one day I'm like, I used to take him, I'm like, okay, I'll keep them separated or whatever, because I know they get a little weird with each other. And he was like walking slow and coming up around the tiki bar and he's looking at her, and all of a sudden he full on black stallion took off across the area trying with his buck teeth out trying to get her. I'm like, holy shit. I grabbed the dog. I'm like, what are you doing? Cappy. I pushed Cappy away. I'm like, what are you doing? He just doesn't like her. And that's it. So they can't play together. Now he likes the Doberman. They play with each other all the time. He does swan dives and tries to catch her, cut her off at the other side of the pool because she won't get in the pool. She's scared of it. So it's like this fun journey of life that you get to. There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And no, they're not suffering. And someone goes, well, you don't know if they're happy or not. Well, you're clearly not happy if you have to sit there and type that to me. But yes,
right.
they are happy. They're having fun.
They're very
Their body
happy.
language tells me whatever their version of happy is, for all you serious people out there, whatever their version of happiness is, may not be our version of it, but whatever their version of it is fun. And they're having a really good time with their buddies out there. The dogs, little nubs go in. They drop half down. You know, when you play with your dog, Jeff, they drop down to the floor, butts up in the air, and they get ready, and you kind of move, they move. Yeah, exactly. Well, you think that's scary? Oh, that's scary, man. He must not be happy. Jeff's dog's not happy. He's his tail's wagging.
He has to play 24/7.
100%.
Don't get me started. People just assume that they know. People just assume they have all the answers and they know better because they're armchair specialists. And it's the most frustrating thing ever, ever, ever.
Well,
So annoying.
Dan says very random things. He can't help it. He really is a good guy, folks. I just, with this guy,
Maybe you should lay off that PDQ or whatever you're eating these days.
I think his problem is he's lactose intolerant and he likes to eat a lot of ice cream. So he does. He
Yes,
doesn't just.
he probably is lactose.
He isn't just flatulent. He gurgles down there like it's gargly. Blah, 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 blah.
Oh, that's wet. That's no good.
Yeah, he's bad. He's gonna kill himself.
He needs an underwear
That's
check.
really truly
It's
sad. I
not
don't want to
good,
go there
Dan.
and see him like this in the box. You know. What Daniel do? Oh, he ate too many fried chicken and ice creams.
You know, here's a funny
Probably
thing
farting often.
to play off of all of this. Like, in a new study that came out, it's believed that one or both of our orangutan species will be extinct by 2024 because of poaching and the
That's
need
sad.
for people to want to have souvenirs to take home. The same with certain gorillas
So I
that
think
we
what
have.
you're saying is functionally extinct.
Functionally extinct, yes, sir.
Functionally extinct means in the wild, folks, not like
Yes,
we do
not
have them in
not
the zoos, but
yeah,
functionally
not like
extinct.
completely extinct, just
Yeah,
in the
functionally
wild.
extinct. Okay.
And unfortunately, it's the same thing with a lot of the gorillas, and what they're finding are gorillas out in the wild with their hands and feet cut off, and being killed just for their hands and feet, because the tourists that come over want to get a hand or a foot to put on their desk as a souvenir as one of the large gorillas. And to me, this is completely grotesque. And so you sit here and you complain about somebody who has the life of Riley, like an animal that has the life of Riley, who is given anything that they want and has a beautiful home and all these other animals that love them. They don't know what it's like to be in another environment. So to them, this is their environment, this is their home, and this is their life. Like, they don't know any different. So you can't, and for all of those listening, you can't just take Troy's capybara and go put it back in the wild. It will die. It is a captive animal. It is not a wild caught. So it can't do that.
Most of them are within 100 years of breeding, so like they've already been in captivity. All those species.
So there you
Correct.
go.
Correct.
So a lot of the mistakes are made on armchair specialists online, where they're like, you need to release that animal. No, you don't know what you're talking about. Please just stop. You're the problem too. You're not helping the situation with thinking you know something when you haven't read a book. So please don't chime in on this, because you're hurting what we're trying to do to save certain species of animal. So overseas, that's a problem that we're dealing with in the mountain gorilla situation and in our silverback gorilla situations. These are problems. If you want to be a voice, go to these charities that are online that you can support to help send poachers to protect these gorillas 24/7 from these poachers coming to collect merely for a gift to have to take home from these locations you've seen.
Can you give me one of those? Can you give me a gorilla hand?
No, I will never.
What if I were to actually change my hand for a gorilla hand?
No, it's not the same.
No,
Here's the
That'd be
problem.
pretty cool, dude.
Here's the
You would look
problem.
like a cyclura with them black hands.
Here's the problem. They are killing the mothers, and the babies now are dying because they're suckling the milk until the mom is like dried up, and then the babies have nowhere to go, but then they die. So it's a constant like reaction to what is happening out there. So if you want to bitch and complain about something, look at what's actually happening in the wild by horrible people doing horrible things to animals in the wild. Because one day when you go to the zoo, you're going to be like, how come there's like no gorillas anymore? Like, I just don't know. I never get to see gorillas. It's so stupid. Guess what? It's because people killed them all off in the wild. And then the ones in captivity finally aged out and died. And now our children can't see them anymore. But you were too busy bitching about the guy down the road that had a macaw. So I don't want to hear it anymore. So for me, it really fires me up because we are in the animal field. I see it and feel it a lot with my brother, with his animals, and the comments I see online with things like that. And Troy knows I handled birds. I trained birds, things that people would say to me about birds, and even like skunks and prairie dogs and all the other animals I trained. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, if you want to be a voice in a cause, look online and be a voice in those in those types of causes, because that is where we need voices to fight. Don't fight the poor guy that has every legal right and is doing everything by the book to have his animals and is well respected in the field for having these animals.
I have some comments. I want to hear what Jeff has to say, but I have some things I want to add to
an animal, I'd love to live at Troy's rather than in the wild. You know, There's no predators at his house. You get to play with raccoons and shit. You know, you get the best food. You get taken care of. Like I have a lot of animals, and I can say, I don't handle all my animals every day and or even like every week, and Troy's always out there with his animals, sparring with Rowdy or Cappy pretty much lives like the high life hanging by the pool all day.
He's a
That's
pimp.
that's his world,
I'm not sure if he knows he's a capybara. I mean, I think he thinks he might be a dog, dude. I don't
Right?
Cappy is a pimp
And
sitting out eating his
is.
bowl.
He lives the high life, and his Troy's animals are exceptionally well taken care of, better than most I've ever seen. And I hope that if there's any karma in this world, somewhere there's a gorilla with like a human foot pencil box sitting on top of his desk. That would make me happy.
That would make me happy too.
That would be amazing, and I think there's a lot to be said about. Yes, Jeff. I don't hold snakes every day, and I don't think, because of the science that we know, that snakes like to constantly be held. I think that's more of a reclusive animal.
Or even remember being held the next day after they were held the day previous.
Right. Or, hey, we fed the snake, but let's hang it. Now it regurgitates and it dies. I think that mammals are far different. What's up, Braden? Mammals are far different than reptiles. And I made a mistake last week, and I will clarify it. I said we were talking, but I think we just said it wrong. We said that the tuatara were not reptiles. Well, they're just not the modern day reptiles that we were talking about. They are a reptile, but not to the same extent of like an iguana or what we have. They're their own thing. They're their very own. There's nothing else like them. So they're in the reptile family, but there's no thing. I'm really good, buddy. I'm really good. I want to say this because I've watched some horrific videos. I make myself watch because you kind of have to. So the reason a lot of these animals die in other countries like Africa or the Madagascar or whatever is because palm oil is a big thing in Madagascar.
Oh, right? God, yeah.
So they have plowed thousands of acres down. But I want you to understand what they use. They use petrol, which is fuel. And they will chase an entire troop of lemurs up a tree. And then they set them all on fire. Yeah. And you will see lemurs jumping out of the trees on fire, half melted, their skin off because they can't get away, so that they can make room for palm oil and money. And there's two sides to that. Now, you have people say, oh my God, how could they fucking do that? Those people are evil. Let me tell you something. We can go dig around on our couch and we can get, $1.25 and go down and buy a Slim Jim. These people cannot. Right? So when people offer them money to do things like that, they just want their families to be okay. It's a very poor, poor country. Okay. They can't they catch a radiated tortoise, they're going to eat it because they're fucking starving. Right. So they do that out of duress and starvation, or their kids, because they're all trying to survive.
Yeah.
So these animal rights activist pieces of shit that run around here attacking people that do good with animals should take their fucking money and go over there and supply these people with food and education and teach them about how to preserve the wildlife. And that is being done in a lot of parts. I mean, I know there's a lot how could you do big game hunting? Listen, when they take an animal to kill that they protect and they charge you to go kill a rhino, it's usually, and I'm not going to say usually, they pick the animal that needs to go, and it's usually something that is extremely rogue. It's killing the other animals. It's pushing past where it's supposed to be, and it's getting into the way of things, and it's doing stuff like that. So they pay $800,000 to go over there and kill a rhino. Okay. That money goes back into the village, because really, it's a village, dude. They still have dirt floors, and they protect them. And we've actually brought back populations of animals doing that. Elephants, rhinos, because before the locals were killing them because they were building these small little areas to try to harvest food or wheat or whatever. And the elephants would come in and just destroy it all. Not because they were being mean, but because they're just trying to survive too.
Being elephants.
Right. Now they're paid. Now that money goes back into paying the staff. Now they have jobs. It created a job. Right. And they're not just killing innocent animals. If you have an animal that's rogue or it's ridiculous or it's getting older or it's something that needs to go, they cull it. Okay. We do it all the time. We're no different over here. So instead of just attacking this media for views and for money in your pocket and to people to drive around with millions of dollars, put it over there. Create a job. Take the palm oil fields away, put a lot of money into those people and teach them how to farm and teach them how to build barricades or teach them how to take care of those animals over there and cohabitate and have money. Build a grocery store for them. Send food. Make it interactive. Don't just already hate them because they do that. They do that because they're starving. There's no education. So we have to really look at both sides of everything, right? And if I didn't have lemurs and people I know didn't have lemurs and they don't bring them in, there would be no lovely lemurs left. I mean, you wouldn't be able to see them. They're dying at a rapid rate. They're highly endangered. Lemurs are highly endangered species. Highly endangered species. Do I like the laws where you can't take them across state lines to get new bloodlines or to move things around to keep it pure? Because unlike crocodiles, you can't breed them to each other that amount of time without introducing some new DNA and stuff. Right? The dog agrees.
Sorry.
But at the end of the day, it's okay. At the end of the day, that's where we need to be putting our money and our focus on is education and funding those poor people. We have plenty of money to do it. They do.
Yep.
People donate to those organizations now, like in the 80s, people donated to religious networks.
Yep.
In the millions of dollars, millions and millions. Sometimes you put a B and take the M out of that and into the billions. And so I think that we always have this crooked problem, and it's that simple to correct things. We actually can correct those issues, and nobody ever wants to step up to that. They're like, oh, you shouldn't kill and you shouldn't do anything. I am not against hunting or calling herds. I am not. I know a lot of FWC officers that are hunters. I understand the reason why we have to take out wild hogs. I understand why people go deer hunting. I understand this stuff. Okay. I get why all that stuff happens, and it has to happen. If we didn't have alligator farms, folks, we would have no alligators. Did not we learn early on when we almost wiped them out by poaching them almost to nothing? So I think that we need to be careful what we hate on. You know, we can't be like fuck a hunter and sit down and have a cheeseburger. Okay.
Right.
We really have to think about what we're saying. And I think if you choose to be vegan, that's fantastic for you. But make sure you're choosing to be vegan for the right reasons, not because you're saving the world, because you're not going to do that. Right. We all know scientifically we're an omnivorous creature. All of us are. Every single primate in the world is omnivorous. Every primate's omnivorous. So with that being said, I respect someone for being a vegan. I respect someone for defending wildlife. I respect someone for not wanting to hunt. I don't hunt. I couldn't shoot an animal and kill it unless it was life or death for me. I could not do it. It's not me.
Yeah.
That's not me. I'm not going to lie about that. That's not me. But I don't hate someone that does that. That's what they do. That's their thing. That's they take what they eat, they eat it. It's a wonderful thing to do. That's their thing. Fine. Native Americans have been doing it for years, way before we stole all the land from them, and it's just going to go on and on and on. And you know, the Native Americans let's just talk about them for a second. They were amazing at cultivating the American bison. Okay? They had the huge populations breeding. Huge populations. We fucked that up. Roosevelt fucked that up.
Yeah.
We had people, European people, whiteys, come in, hated the Indians so much, or the Native Americans so much, that they used to take and give them guns for free, train rides, to just shoot buffalo out the window as you went by. And you know why they did that? To starve the Indians out. And that to me is disgusting. But they were masters at cultivating them, at farming and breeding and taking what they needed for warmth in the winter. They used their fur. The buffalo gave back, and they respected that. You know what? That is part of life. That's the circle of it, man. And no matter what, that's how it's always been since the beginning of time. It's not like we created that, right? We didn't create this. Oh, well, we're hunting now because we're taking meat. That's from the beginning of time. A crocodile doesn't shed a tear when he eats a baby hippopotamus. The hippopotamus that kills that crocodile for killing that baby hippopotamus, that's war on their turf, and that's the way it's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. So, with all that being said, when we start hating on certain things, we should really look at both angles of it and figure out how to fix the problem instead of hating what's being done, right? Like we can't hate them for doing what they do to them because that's the only way they know to get rid of them, and they're told if you do this, your family will be okay. This community will thrive. We'll give you money and food. So they're like, we need to do that. Their child's sick. Maybe a couple of their children have died from starvation. They haven't eaten. They're not eating things healthy. So what would you do? When your mind is in that state, if Jeff's dropped in the middle of the desert with his daughters, one has already died, and he's trying to feed them, and someone says, if you can accomplish this, we'll take care of you. They're going to do it, right? That's evil.
Family.
That's not right. Don't tell them to go kill so you can be greedy with palm oil now. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we need to educate and teach people how to, propagate the land properly.
Right. I mean, they were great at conservation until we came along.
They were.
Mhm.
True, Jeff.
They thrived
Yep.
and survived. Look at like wild horses. It's a rarity now to see a wild horse when they used to be all over the place.
Yeah, and I read some literature on that, Jeff. You know what I find interesting, and you guys are more than welcome to look it up. As a matter of fact, you can even watch the documentary. It's called The West.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, the Native American populations back in the West, they would live, 5-6 miles away from each other. They didn't even know each other was there.
Mm-hmm.
We started running trains through. We gave them horses so that they would kill each other. You know that?
Yeah, so they can go up to each other.
Because they were territorial, just like every other human being on the planet.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't believe it. And they're like, well, we'll just give them horses and they'll kill each other off. Because now they have access to each other. So they didn't live peacefully anymore. Now they were raiding each other. So because we intervened. Because we were invasive. Because we brought those traits to them.
That.
Right.
It was the French that were scalping Indians. That's where Indians learned to scalp. They didn't do that. So there's so much to history that we just weren't really taught. And I always think about when I was a kid.
Of course not.
And we would take that little piece of colored paper. Do you remember that colored paper, Jeff? And you put your hand on it. And you make a turkey. You make a turkey out of your hand.
Yeah.
This guy, Christopher Columbus, was a rapist, sadist, disgusting, slaughtering human being. But we made him like, oh, he wore a buckled hat and said, I'll try some of your corn, Chief. No, he killed them all.
Like they had a peaceful dinner.
I'll trade you these blankets for it.
Raped the children, raped the women, and killed all the young men, all the warriors, and then tortured them. And we celebrated that. I don't care what anybody says. Y'all can argue with me. You can message me. You can send my DM. We're talking about America. No, that's exactly what we did. And that's exactly what was done over there. And they made it this really paint a picture to keep everybody safe. I think you should teach children the truth. I don't think we should lie to kids. I should be like, look, they killed innocent people. And we've established now a society where we know the mistakes of our past. And we are trying to correct that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so now that the Native Americans make an amazing living off casinos, you don't have the right to hate them. That's capitalizing at its best, and good for them, dude.
Yep.
Good for them. That's what I'm saying. So you know what? Don't involve yourself in that. They've evolved into that. That's what they're doing. They figured out a way to supply a need, and they're taking it back from us. And all those people that go there and gamble their life away and kill themselves off. Oh, well, that's the law of the land, man. That's the law of the land. And I think that there's a lot to be said about that. Yeah. And that's correct, Michelle. He did not even find America. I've often wondered who came first. Was it Ponce de Leon or was it Christopher Columbus?
It was Christopher Columbus, I think, came before.
Would have come before Ponce de Leon. Yeah.
When did Ponce de Leon get here? When was I want to ask because I generally don't know. I'm not speaking on it because I don't know.
15...
I don't remember.
I think it's early 1600s or
right. Wasn't it over near St. Augustine somewhere?
It's either 1658 or 1568. It's like a really.
There's buildings from the 1500s in St. Augustine, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it had to be in the 1500s.
It's like
1568,
1658. What is it? It's something like that.
Well, then he wouldn't be the first one either then, because isn't the oldest city in the United States?
What was it?
1513.
Okay. That makes sense.
I wasn't too far. Okay. Wasn't too far off. 1560. What was 15?
So Christopher Columbus never even made it to the U.S. ever. I mean, is that I don't know the Michelle. Is that true? He never even made it to the U.S.
Well, I think he did. No, he did. The one of the main guys that actually came to America, which is why later on it was actually called America, was because if you remember, yeah, he was one of the first two that actually came over.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Was that the Viking too? Eric the Red.
Yeah. Well, Leif Erikson came.
Let me just say that goes back.
Came over here too, up by Maine. I mean, he landed here. That's when, that was early on.
We are all territorial of each other, and who landed in the Bahamas?
Columbus.
Judy? Columbus did. Okay.
Leif Erikson, Eric the Red's son.
Okay.
Credited with discovering North America.
So let me just say, everybody's like, oh, the Vikings were disgusting. The Vikings committed a lot of genocide, dude. Like they did some things that were absolutely insane. We glorify them. But they were a lot worse than Hitler. If you must.
Oh, like the eagle wings or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, dude. So I'm just saying. I just want to say we're all a little crooked with our history, but it just shows that we are wired as humans to be territorial and conquering. That's just what we do, and we will go after lesser species. So if you're not evolved enough to defend yourself and you don't have weapons, like the chimpanzees go in and they just destroy the smaller monkeys and they consume them, right? So if you find a group of peaceful humans that aren't equipped to be war mongols or fighter, we were taking them and destroying them. I mean, that's what humans do to each other. Unfortunately, it's not a good thing. And then we got through. Now we're all civilized or whatever. But I still think that we should teach the way it used to be. Like they need to understand how far we've really come. I mean, really. It looks bad, guys, because we watch social media and it teaches racism. Not everybody goes out, hates somebody because of their race. Okay? Not everybody does that. Not everybody from Israel, not everybody from the Palestine, not everybody from Iran or Iraq are evil, disgusting people. Not every Muslim's evil. Not every Christian's evil. They're just not. So I just think that we're propagating this fear.
Satanist is evil.
Just saying, for sure. And so I was up at Ants and we were having a discussion, and it was very interesting to me how you can compare HIV to the way they have done COVID, and what I mean by that is, let me clarify, because I know it's two different things. When we were young, and Jeff will remember because he understands the satanic panic and he understands the 80s and how they taught us to hate. Okay? I remember when the AIDS pandemic hit heavy.
Yep.
Really heavy.
Right before I went to college.
Well, I was younger than you, so I was still in school age and like high school age, and they had covered up, at the churches, they covered up the water fountains with garbage bags. They covered up the water fountains at the schools. They covered up, don't do this. And I remember being in Vail, which was in Arizona, at a school, and when we went to lunch, they would tell us, all right, guys, here, no one's allowed to share out of your juice cups. And we would have these little, like at Capri Suns or juice boxes, and we'd all sit down. We're like, we're cool with our Transformers. Hey, you got a septic? Oh, yeah, man. Fuck the cabbage. And we would share. And they go, we'd like you to sit a little further apart, right? And then you would be like, wow, now everybody's nervous to share anything because you could die, right? Now all you see on the news is people dying of AIDS and all that propaganda. And then at that time, we had this religious movement where they would talk about it's all the homosexuals' fault. Okay? So now what did that do to the young kids in school? And Anthony and his partner Jimmy, we sat down, we had a really good conversation about it. What did that do to the homosexual community? It turned us into fear, Mongol, hating, abusive people, where we would hit them with bats and shovels and things so we wouldn't touch them and get blood on us.
Yeah, innocent
right?
people. Yep.
Because we were taught now to fear the disease. That wasn't their fault. We know damn well that wasn't their fault. Yeah, and you're not going to convince me it was one gay guy that had sex with some monkey. I don't buy it, and I still don't buy this to this day. I'll never be sold on that. So now we taught about it's their fault. And now we teach that we have to hurt them and beat them from TV. And then we start to believe it because now we're in school and our teachers, who are our leaders, are telling us we have to sit apart and don't share your juice box, right? Now there's people with the COVID disease that had it or whatever it is, all right? Aside from your belief on it, how it got here, we're not going into that part. We're just going to go into what it is, right? Now you have people that go out and they're like, you're not wearing your mask. You're responsible. And they treat them the same way we treated the homosexuals in the 80s because we're teaching fear and scare tactics. You choose to wear your mask, good. If I'm sick, if I even have the flu, I think I should wear a mask if I'm going to go to Jeff's house. Why share it? Why do that? Cody got sick. I said, hey, can you wear a mask? My dad got him some just so he wasn't coughing in the house and getting us sick. It wasn't COVID. So there's a respect thing. And then now it's like, oh, you're this. And then you have people going, we're True Bloods and all that. It's the same fucking thing. Repeated. It's all repeated, Jeff. And it's where it's propelled from? It's not propelled from science or what Jeff knows in the medical field. It's all propelled from the media. Making people hate and keeping us apart. Why? Why do they do that?
Your blood moniker. I want to freaking strangle people. You know, it's if you don't want to do it, don't fucking do it. Leave everybody else alone.
Agreed.
Stop pushing misinformation about it. Don't repeat everything you see and read on Facebook. They all the things. Oh, it's killing millions of people. Who are these people?
Yeah, and who's dying from drinking out of a juice cup? You don't get AIDS from drinking out of a juice cup.
No, do you remember
that? It wasn't a microscopic drip of blood either.
Do you remember that kid in the late 80s? His name was Ryan White. He was a kid who contracted AIDS from a blood transfusion. He was maybe
was in a car accident or something. Yeah, I do remember.
And they found out he had AIDS, and this kid and his parents went through every precaution. He walked around with a little fanny pack with Band-Aids and shit just in case he cut himself, and they ended up kicking him out of school and saying he couldn't attend anymore because he had AIDS. He had HIV. And
I remember, Jeff.
Series of lawsuits. I think there was a docu-series or a movie about it too. And it's just a kid who wanted to go to school and wanted to have friends. His friends didn't care. It was their parents, It was their teachers, the parents, people who put the stigma on this kid because through no fault of his own, a little kid gets in an accident, needs a transfusion, gets a terrible virus. And now not only does he have this terrible virus, but let's pile on top of it that nobody wants to go near him or touch him or play with him or talk to him. And even if they do, their parents are saying, "Oh, you're right, Michelle, with that kid. I don't even want you, breathing on him or whatever." It's ridiculous.
The only thing you can really get from a public toilet seat is crab. Yeah, pubic hair. So it's interesting to me that they would say, "You're right, Jeff. I agree with you 100%." And they do that. And so that's what I mean about the media and what we watch. And back then, now it's Facebook, it's TikTok.
But here's the thing, right? Here's the kicker on all of that, right? So when you go back and you look at how all of this started, even with the school system, it started in I think it was 1911, or might have been a little bit after that they started implementing that every child had to go to school. There would be no more homeschooling. Had to go to school, had to be in an actual schoolhouse system. And there was a certain set of education and certain set of books that were written by we don't know who, and we all had to listen to them. And this was our basic history. This was our basic understanding of everything. And we all had to know this. And then you
and most of it was lies.
Right. And then as you get through history, it's oh, well, now we can also use this to our advantage to also control in a matter of a sense. Then we can use this to our advantage to do control. And if people honestly think that the internet doesn't have people set out as their job to put out false disinformation, to hype up media, to hype up fear agenda for whatever reason, per election, per whatever's going on,
no reason at all,
crazy, because that is their job. They are set out to be a certain way. And they also find high numbers of so-called college age massive.
Hold on a second. Can you elaborate that? I want you to explain what you're saying there, because I don't. Ass hair is no pubic hair. It's just hair.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to target you, but you're saying something in a public platform. I want to know what you mean by that, so that we're not misunderstanding what you're saying. Sorry, Brittany, to interrupt you. I'll leave that up until you put another comment up there.
No, that's okay. Anyway, what I'm saying is that every single thing, and then they also go after high named influencers, right? That have a very high amount of things, and they will pay them to say certain things, to get this information out and say, you heard this from someone. And they get that information out. And so now all of a sudden it's oh my gosh, TikTok user blah, blah, blah said that this is what's going down, and they have footage and they were there. And now all of a sudden it becomes, this is real. This is what's happening. And it's it's all, now they can use the news, TV, media, everything, Wikipedia. Don't believe anything you read on Wikipedia, please. All of this is all, I'm putting it out there. Personal blogs, Reddit, everybody is a somebody, and they all have all this information about everything that they don't really know. And it's all fear propaganda. And then everybody believes it. And then people fight on each other, and we create chaos where there didn't need to be any, on false information, even historical false information.
Come here, buddy.
Okay. She commented that med ass hair is not called pubic hair. Okay. I just want to know what is your
Well,
medical
it's not in
field?
the Pacific region, so that makes perfect sense. I agree with you, Brittany. I think there's so much um, uh, incidental misinformation going out there.
For sure.
We lost Troy, and it's
Of course we did.
disgusting. People just perpetuate things on both sides of the aisle, on both sides of conspiracies. I follow this X account just because it's a little ridiculous. It's called Suddenly Died.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. And
Sounds like
all these deaths are just, random deaths to be like, oh, it was probably the vaccine, or maybe they had myocarditis, and they make it out to be that these deaths, that's what caused these things.
Right.
And I started Googling some of these people that they say died suddenly. One was a car accident, it's shit like that. And they know it. They're just doing it on purpose. It's clickbait, or it's predictive programming, or targeted advertising. There's so many things that
you're in the field, Jeff. So here's a question for you. Here's a kicker, because Finn obviously is obsessed with Queen. So I have learned so much about Freddie Mercury, about stuff that I don't think the general public knows unless you get these books and you're learning about who he was.
Right.
And so what's really interesting to me is that, yes, he had contracted AIDS, and it was like not very good for him, but he was doing treatments and he was doing everything he could. And even up until 91, he was doing okay with it. His health wasn't extremely great, but he was okay with it. What I find interesting is that he actually got sick, had like the flu, and he came down with pneumonia,
which is very common.
Extremely common.
With HIV and AIDS.
Yeah. And so because he had HIVs, his immune system was way weakened. And unfortunately, it was what really took him wasn't HIV. It was because he came down with the flu and got pneumonia, and it settled in his lungs. He couldn't fight it.
Right. I mean,
but
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So what's interesting to me is at the time he died, he died of HIV. Nobody talked about pneumonia at the time. Nobody talked about that he had the flu and he was bedridden and he had lost his voice and he was coming down with basically walking pneumonia and then pneumonia, right? To where he was in bed. And it's interesting to me because during COVID, they did the same thing. People were going in and being like, look, I have COVID, but it's not bad. My symptoms aren't really that bad, but I know now that I have the flu and I'm worried about pneumonia. And then patients were dying of pneumonia, but they were saying they died of COVID or COVID complications, which is the same thing that was titled on Freddie Mercury's, is that it was HIV complications.
Right. Well, they have a thing called AIDS-related complex. They don't use the term much anymore. It's called ARC, it used to be. And that's the pneumonias. Because you have lots of different types of pneumonia too, but one of the biggest killers of people with compromised immune systems is which HIV is the virus that causes AIDS, which is the immune deficiency syndrome.
Correct.
So having HIV, it doesn't really affect you. When you get it, a few weeks after you contract it, when the viral load gets big enough, it's very common for people to even miss it because it's like light flu-like symptoms while the virus takes hold. And then it takes years and years and years for it to turn into AIDS, which is the acquired immune deficiency syndrome. And now your immune system is compromised. So things like Candida auris, which is thrush, very normal, pneumocystis pneumonia, pneumococcal pneumonia. Things like that are more common because it's a lot easier to get. So you get, this virus and it opens you up. Tuberculosis is another very common, like if we ever see cases of tuberculosis in an American hospital, there's a good chance that if they hadn't left the country, that it was HIV or AIDS that brought on the tuberculosis, because, tuberculosis is not a common disease here. It's something that, is more or less a third world issue. But, so nobody ever died of AIDS. They died. And same with COVID as well. You don't die from COVID. You die with the complications that come from COVID.
Right, but that was.
Jeff, I have a question.
Yeah,
I just want to say, but that's the point I was trying to make, is at that time in the 80s, they were upping the whole thing of you're going to die of AIDS. And then here's Freddie Mercury, who was an advocate for AIDS, to say this is not what it is. You can't die from it. And he actually did publicly come out and talk about this because he was an advocate for it. And he was like, we just have to be cautious. It just means you're weaker to certain things. You have to be very careful when you're out there. Like, he knew this, but yet when he died, they used it because of who he was as a play to their game of being like, everyone's going to die of AIDS now. You've got to be careful. You're going to die of AIDS. And that really wasn't the case. And that's, like, you just made my point. It's the same thing with COVID. The same thing was being done in COVID.
With any virus, really, for the most part. Like the flu, you don't die of the flu. You die of the symptoms that the flu gives you, or the lack of breathing from having your lungs full of fluid, or your heart can't take your immune system going into overdrive. So, most viruses won't kill you. It's what the virus causes. And even AIDS is not the virus. It's a syndrome caused by the HIV virus that kills your immune system, and then anything can kill you.
So what I thought was interesting, Jeff, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but AIDS is autoimmune disorder.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so there are people that have autoimmune disorder. Does that mean they have AIDS?
What's that?
There are people that just have autoimmune disorder.
Right.
Does that mean they have AIDS? I mean, isn't it interesting?
Like rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune, lupus.
Right. So that's interesting. That's all I wanted to say.
And in autoimmune, the difference is it doesn't break down your immune system. Your immune system attacks itself. Okay. So your immune system looks at you, your body, and all your regular cells as foreign invaders. So it attacks itself. Right. So you get all these symptoms from your body attacking itself. So it's a little bit different with HIV. It attacks a certain type of cell. Okay. T cells. So it actually, the syndrome allows other diseases to attack your body.
Gotcha.
I gotcha. Yeah, the only reason I
like hearing that
because
you have someone breaking it down, and I think that's important because
for sure. There's so much, people don't understand. You're absolutely right, Brittany. Anything like that it's people hear the buzzwords and they go by the buzzwords. They get their news from anything that's like 2 inches in front of their face and never explore it any further. Just to give an example, if somebody who is a liberal hears a story about Donald Trump, a bad story, they're not going to go look it up. They're going to say, "Oh, Donald
run with it."
This. And if somebody's a conservative hears that, this happened in the Supreme Court over the Trump case, they're just going to go out and take that Facebook post, that headline, and use it at parties to tell their friends, "Did you hear about such and such?"
Yeah,
we're lazy. The social media and internet has made us so lazy that we don't do any research at all. I find it interesting that people say, "Well, I don't want to take that vaccine because there hasn't been any research." Yet they'll see something that's on a Facebook post and they'll share it 50,000 times, not researching it or vetting it at all.
Right. Well, and that was the thing I was just trying to make is like, it's if you are a media source that's about propaganda or you like the clickbait, here is a perfect example of how you can do so without having the proper education behind it to understand that you're just using a term to use for your own agenda.
Right. And you're not necessarily lying. You're just spinning it in a way that it
thank you, Michelle,
sends the message that you want to send. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
exactly.
all about spin, and all news media does it. No matter if it's mainstream or progressive or conservative, it doesn't matter. They all spin things to their own agenda.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And I still think big business runs this country, and I think that we're treated like lab rats a lot of time. That's how I feel.
Oh, for sure.
I think they're lab rats. I think that they're protected from a lot of things, and I'm still a big believer that there's definitely some cures to cancer out there.
Oh, well, they
I feel like that, liberal or Republican, I don't care what you are. I think that it's people that aren't Republican or liberal that don't give a shit about any of that, and they do what they want. That's how I feel, though. I'm talking about the big businesses that don't care. I think they make that a game. We're being distracted. That's all that is. That's all it
Yep.
is.
Weapons of mass distraction, man. You know, there's no money in a cure. There's money in treatment. You know, billions and billions and billions and probably trillions of dollars in treating diseases.
Of
And if you
course.
cure them, you're getting rid of your customers.
It's just
No.
like it's just like private prisons. Okay.
Oh, ridiculous.
Let me just tell you, folks, if they're paying you $50,000 a year per head, owning a prison would be big business because they want to lock a lot of people up. And there are people that are locked up that should not be locked up.
Oh, I'd say
That's
most
true.
People who sold weed and all that stuff. Come on, man. Come on.
people who possess weed.
It's a money thing because the government, I'm telling you, man, it pays people out. And that's, and when I'm not on the air and there's some things I want to talk about, Jeff, you'll just be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, incarceration.
Because you will not believe, let's just take methadone, for example.
Oh, methadone's another one of those things. They can
It's
string
right in
you
your
on for
face and
years
nobody
and years.
listens. It's like right there.
And they bilk your insurance company for all this money to keep you on methadone. Oh, you're not ready to go off it yet. You might go back to heroin. And, methadone is one of the biggest scams out there.
Another one, and I just found out because I would always hear all these fucking people using kratom.
Oh, yeah. Kratom's another thing.
Idiot shit, right? Well, they go, oh, well, that's to help you. Is it? Because the only people using kratom are usually out there committing crimes and doing dumb shit too. Like, I don't know how it's helping anybody, but maybe it does. I don't know. I really don't know. But I was like, what is that for? And they're like, oh, I stopped to buy a lighter the other day at a smoke shop. Sometimes I like to go in, look at some bowls, Jeff,
Yeah.
But I go, what? There's these big bags of kratom. I'm like, what is that? They're like, oh, if you're suffering from drug use, they want you to use it. Doctors prescribe it. They do?
Not doctors in my hospital.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, they do? Okay.
Yeah, we do occasionally prescribe alcohol for people in the severe DTs. ETOA.
Yeah, but not kratom.
No, definitely not kratom. They're like, yeah, your leg's broken. We're going to rub some kratom on it. It's not tussin. You can't fix everything with it.
And people spend big money on that. So whoever came up with kratom, I wish it was me.
I went on a date one time. She's like, oh, meet me at this place that I go to. It's a kratom bar. And I'm like, but I went, and the date sucked, but the kratom bar was terrible at least. So, it's
I love it, dude.
It's crazy, man.
That's why I wanted to ask you because you're in the hospital and I mean, everything's a drug nowadays. Polar pops are a drug.
I actually mainline those.
Polar pop?
Yeah, I like to take them rectally. Polar
pops. I know you're listening. And I'm talking to you, Polar pop. But I know that they put a lot of chemicals in that in those things too, and people they're just addicted to everything, man.
I mean,
it's like energy drinks too. People get addicted
to
those. Those are hardcore, like Rockstar.
Imagine, Jeff. Imagine if energy drinks with like the
Gorine and
the intensity of C4 or like Bang in a Polar Pop 64 ounce. People would be like,
oh my God.
And they would still do it.
Oh my God. Yep. They'd be like surge.
Yeah. Well, we're not capable of policing ourselves. So they have to tell us what size soda we can drink and how much candy we can eat. And now they're trying to tell us how much THC can be in the marijuana that they let us smoke. That they're graceful enough to let us use something that grows in nature all the time. Florida is trying to throttle the potency of marijuana in preparation for the upcoming adult use referendum that is going to be on the ballot this year. I have 99% sure, and 24.
What's interesting? If you go to Machu Picchu, do you know they give you coquina leaves to help you get up there, to help with the altitude, to help you with nauseous, to help you with your nausea? It's coquina leaves. It's raw coquina leaves. You sit there and you chew on them as you're going up.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit.
Goddamn
Polar Pops.
It's like every year they come out with like a bigger jug for the soda. You ever seen the big, huge trucker mugs are like this big,
yes.
And they have to have like a 14-foot straw to drink from this fucking thing.
No, you know what makes me, what's funny to me? I know that I'm going to get hate for this. And I'm not going to be rude because it's just truth. I'm not going to say anything derogative or rude. Yes, they do. The heart problems do come from that for sure. I totally agree. A lot of kids die from energy drinks because their heart just fails them. You know, you got to remember, guys, you can't put your heart on high speed all the time. You're going to die. You don't think you're doing it, but you're doing it. And basically think about taking a notch off your heart every time you slam those things. But anyways.
Yep, exactly.
If you think about, I see these big plastic cups that say 7-Eleven Monster Gulp. And then a 200-pound 5-year-old with his arms around it, walking back out of the gas station behind his parents that can't wear anything but sweatpants. Is that not child abuse? Is that not child abuse?
Absolutely, dude. You know, and
oh my God, dude. It's like, so, but if you spanked your kid in public because he's an asshole, you're a piece of shit. But you'll give him a big drug-induced jug of shit, and he's shitting himself because he can't even reach himself to go to the bathroom, and you're just stuffing him full of it. I think that's child abuse because they can't make their own decisions.
It's not just 7-Eleven. Big Pharma encourages it. You know, every kid's on freaking.
I just meant I see this by my house. I just meant that's the gas station or Circle K. I see that a lot.
Right. No, it's crazy, man. And don't get me wrong, I dig a good Slurpee like the next guy, but
it's more dangerous. Candy and Slurpees are a lot more dangerous than smoking marijuana.
Oh, fuck yeah. Although marijuana is a gateway drug to candy and Slurpees.
So it's truly the gateway drug. Brittany's stoned as hell right now. Look at her, dude. She's like,
she baked.
I'm not stoned.
I'm taking anything. I don't do that stuff. Y'all are silly. Y'all are dumb. Stop it. I just look like Vince Neil.
The worst thing that I ever do when I'm high on weed is steal Ruby's snacks. But guess what?
Is Ruby there?
I'm going to buy her more.
Kick your ass.
Exactly.
I did have something I wanted to bring up, and I know like we've gone really over, but I really want to share this because I thought was really cool. So John sent it to me actually because he has Yahoo News and I hadn't seen it yet, and he was like, "Well, I guess you could throw this out that you were right." So we had a good laugh for a minute, but scientists, this is what the actual tagline says: scientists baffled after finding 4 gigantic mountains lurking under the ocean. Here's the kicker. In the new scientific study that they did, 80% of our ocean is unmapped and uncharted. 80%. That's a large mass of water.
80? Is it 80? I thought it was like
80. It is 80% now. That has been new calculation by the scientific community. I love this. These mountains that they have uncovered on the geological survey, which look like Mount Everest, I just want to point out. Sure. It's really badass. They range from 5,200 to 8,800 feet high.
Wow, that's that's like a mile and a half.
And they're saying we
Denver.
now know we don't understand anything about our ocean floor and what's really lurking in the ocean. No, crying out loud. I have been saying this forever.
But what if the whole ocean just rotates around once in a while?
Why?
Isn't that cool, Jeff? So a big meteor hits now, and every piece of land now is deluged, and it swells up, and the other things lift up, and a new life starts.
Yeah, they become icebergs.
Jeff, I really think it's the firmament.
You know what's really killer is a lot of people don't even realize this unless you you're a nerd like me, and I research this stuff all the time. Sure. But I know, thanks, Michelle. I love you. Up at between Russia and Alaska, up to current times, every year seasonally, we get a Bering ice bridge every year, and it's not thick enough for trucks like heavy artillery and things to actually drive over, but it is thick enough for us, for people, for dog sledding teams, for animals and stuff, whatever, to go back and forth and back and forth. So that is why we get a lot of animals from the Siberian and Russian range that all of a sudden started appearing over in Alaska. And people are like, why? Why do we have a snow leopard over here? This shouldn't be here. It's like, well, the funny part is that it just travels 50 miles.
People don't realize how close Alaska and Russia are.
It's actually 55 miles to the point.
It's like me driving to work.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's 1 hour. It's a 1 hour drive. And you're
Brittany
in
married
Russia.
a Sasquatch that uses Nair. And on that note,
He's
We
really
are 1
gigantic
hour and
Githicus too
20
because he's
minutes
red.
into the show. And I'm going to cut it off while we're ahead of the game. I want to thank everybody for coming out to the Motley Croc Show again. We had a good time seeing everybody and listening to all the banter, and we love your comments and really appreciate the support you guys give us and coming out and listening to us talk a lot of smack. And yes, Brittany doesn't do anything silly. She's just tired. I was just joking. I want to put that out.
No,
there
it's because I'm still like
It is
getting off of being
ridiculous.
sick, so I have NyQuil.
I know.
The longest thing Brittany takes is probably Flintstones chewable vitamins. Come on now.
I do.
You know what I like when they go,
I'm a
"I'm sorry.
Flintstones kid, okay?
I don't put those things. I don't like to put bad things in my body." But I'll take Tylenol. Anyways, I want everybody to have a good night. Thanks. We'll see you next week. We'll come up with some new stuff when we have some better news for you. We got some things we're going to talk about that we really want to talk about, but we're limited to at the moment.
We need to talk about Justin Moan and the beheading. I think that definitely needs to come up sooner or later.
Sounds good to me.
The guy beheaded his dad on film, on camera.
Yep. We're going to talk about that too. I want to get into that. I know we touched on it. We definitely need to. So, folks, I appreciate you coming out to the Motley Croc Show. Tune in and check us out. Follow Brittany. Follow Jeff. Get with us. Reach out, send us messages. If something cool's in your area and you're not from Florida or whatever and you want to talk about it, send it to us and we'll bring it up. We'd be glad to do it. One thing I like about the show with all of us is we can go off the cuff. I know there's a lot of organization in some shows, but I like going off the cuff and we can really touch on things. So thanks for all your support and coming out and giving us things to talk about. We love you and good.